the problem is, this is all hindsight to like a 30-year-old show. So we can't really change it now. I still think it's glorious for what it was. Way back when I was still a youngling, I really enjoyed the Spider-Man animated series. The one with all the bad animation, the over-the-top acting, the horrible stuff. It was glorious. I enjoyed it so much. One of my favorite arcs was the Symbiote Spider arc, where Spider-Man got the symbiote. Oh, by the way, spoilers for or whatever. But basically, Peter got the symbiote that became known as the being Venom after it merged with Eddie Brock, but at first it was merged with Peter Parker, and that started to affect his personality. It started to change the way he interacted with the people around him in his life. And it also got him to be a little more unhinged when he started, well, going down the rabbit hole of getting angry, getting like really angry. And there was one scene that really stands out to my mind. And in today's video, we are going to be learning why we're apparently wrong about the scene where, if I'm guessing correctly, it's the shocker, "You'll never escape me, I'll chase you to the ends of the earth." Except voice acted worse than that, if you can believe it. In which, if I'm remembering correctly, that scene was basically the culmination of, or like the breaking point of Peter Parker, where he realized that the symbiote was actively affecting his actual mind and not just helping him in a symbiotic relationship. It was more of a parasitic relationship. I was about to say parasocial, but no, that's parasitic. Because, like, the symbiote did cause Spider-Man, or did start going around as Spider-Man while Peter Parker slept. So, like, Peter never got actually a good night's rest. He just kept being Spider-Man even though he thought he was asleep. Good times. Anyways, let's find out why Leo Convoy thinks got this wrong about, or why I'm wrong about the Spider-Man scene, apparently. Oh god, don't.
Spider-Man the Animated Series is a show very dear to my heart. Premiering
Same.
in 1994, this series introduced an entire generation to the world of Spider-Man. While
Oh my god, it kicked off so many toys and new fans. It was awesome. It was horrible and it was awesome.
I was somewhat familiar with him due to watching Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends previously, it was this series that made me fall in love with the character and his world. Heck, it's what made me want the comics too in order to expand my knowledge on it. My first Spider-Man comic was The Amazing Spider-Man 294. Yeah.
I know that storyline. Yeah, that was Kraven the Hunter. And then his family got mad and then put Spider-Man through. Oh wait, no, that's the following storyline. But like following this storyline, Kraven's family got mad and then put Spider-Man through the worst times of his life in order to weaken him and try to kill him. And that didn't work. Go Peter.
A rough start, but a topic for another time. The 90s cartoon even introduced me to Spider-Man toys, and I collected a few of them as a kid.
Oh my god, the Spider Slayers. I remember those. I remember those so much. they were like the hypest part of the Spider-Man animated series to me for a point, or for a time. Well, if you know me, you know I like mechs, and you can see where that comes from. Kingpin, who the fuck is that?
Something I recently started doing again with the Marvel Legends Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man.
Damn, that action figure actually looks pretty sweet. But I don't collect action figures, I collect Gunpla. You build the action figures first, and they mean a little more to you.
And impressing me.
To me, anyways.
So much. While this show is loved by many, and rightly so, there's a specific scene that's become a meme. You see, this show was the first animated appearance of the now classic Spider-Man antagonist, Venom.
Oh my god, they did Venom so well with this series. Like, this was the definitive, in my opinion, depiction of Venom. It was such a good depiction of him. I just love it.
While the origin of the symbiote suit that would become half of Venom was a lot more complicated in the comics, revolving around the Secret Wars storyline, the cartoon opted to streamline it. So on April 29th, 1995, the first episode of the three-part storyline, The Alien Costume, aired.
I wonder if he's actually just going to sum it up. I'm willing to bet he is, so I don't actually have to explain what's going down with this arc. But I will fact check, I guess.
It introduced us to the alien symbiote that bonded with Peter, slowly pushing his aggression to a peak. That peak being in the church bell tower.
Okay, so it didn't actually go over where, like, how it actually happened in the animated series. Basically, it starts off with J. Jonah Jameson, you know, the guy that wants pictures of Spider-Man, with his cigar and mustache. Basically, his son was out on a mission to the moon and then came back with a funky rock that once they ended up crashing into, like, on their way in their re-entry, and then they didn't know what was up, and then, like, the black goo, the left the left the spaceship and then found itself with Peter Parker and loved that bonding a little too much. And now, like, after like a while of building up the connection between Peter Parker and the symbiote, we get to this scene where basically he's snapped.
Tower where Spider
almost like Shocker here.
Man is on the verge of killing a villain named the Shocker. This is when Peter finally snaps out of it and fully realizes how dangerous the suit is, forcing it off him with the sonic sounds of the bell in the tower. Afterwards,
that is actually where I think, yeah, that scene was where he actually discovered the sonic weakness of the symbiotes. And it got real. It got bad.
Symbiote, discarded and seeking revenge, bonds with a captive Eddie Brock, creating Venom.
Yeah, like, Eddie couldn't even do anything about that. He was held there by Spider-Man, so there was nothing Eddie could do. He was just helpless as the symbiote landed on him, and then with the hatred of the symbiote the symbiote has a hatred for Peter Parker for now rejecting Spider-Man, and Eddie Brock hates Spider-Man because he seems to always be getting stood up or whatever, overshadowed by Peter Parker and that work. And Eddie Brock at that point, if I'm correct, he hated Peter Parker and Spider-Man for separate reasons. And then when he joins with the symbiote and learns of Spider-Man's true identity, he's like, oh, so I just hated one person this whole time.
It's a good three-parter. Heck, it's a great three-parter.
It's the definitive part of the animated Spider-Man series. You should definitely watch, if you want to watch classic Spider-Man, watch that arc if nothing else.
And the introduction of this character in general was a game-changer to Spider-Man as a whole. But it's a very specific scene in the church I want to talk about. And this is where I remind you all that super thanks and Patreon support is appreciated, because I am 100% sure this clip is going to get the video demonetized and choke the video's reach.
Oh, great. Let's play it. My channel too. My channel too.
Anyways, enough shilling, here's the scene.
Shocker! Shocker! You can't escape me! I'll chase you to the ends of the earth!
See, I wasn't joking. It was worse voice acting than what I did. And it's so glorious.
It's somewhat awkward, isn't it? There's been a lot of people that have claimed the scene is overacted, including in the title of the video itself. Heck, it's gotten to be so well known that the head writer for the show commented on the video.
I did not know this one. Like, I didn't know John Semper was the writer, because, like, I only watched it as a kid. I wonder if he's going to read it out for us.
And he wasn't happy. More on that later. But here's the thing. This video title and a lot of people in the comments are wrong. And the writer, he's actually correct about the scene. Christopher Daniel Barnes...
Wait, so it's not overacting? Like... Well, I guess it's fitting for the scene itself, given the context of that arc and what was going on. I personally think it's an excellent example of bad voice acting. Because, like, it's odd. It's awkward. It's clunky. But it's glorious.
The voice for Spider-Man in this cartoon absolutely did not overact this scene. Does it seem a bit off? I'd imagine it would to a lot of people, especially people who don't know how animation is produced. Let me explain. Animation, as I'm sure you can imagine, is a labor-intensive job, but the way it's produced can easily be lined out. Spider-Man, being a show focused on drama and action, started with scripting. While some cartoons, mostly comedy, tend to be written via storyboards, most action shows start with a script before anything else. These scripts...
Wait, so Spider-Man started with a script or a storyboard? Because, like, I don't actually get the problem with that scene. It was screamy. It was like we literally just played it. Why am I drawing a blank on describing it now?
Scripts could be done by regular writing staff on the show, or maybe just a person for a single episode. It varies. After this, the storyboarding is done. The storyboard gives animators the basic blueprints of things like setting, composition, and how the characters are supposed to move.
Yeah, this is largely stuff that I know of. I learned a lot about storyboarding, at least, with my college background. I studied game art and design for college. I dropped out. Yay!
Think of it like a basic comic for the final episode. Not everything from the script or even storyboards make it into the final product, but it's still a very important step. Next is the voice.
Yeah, the storyboard itself helps the artists and the animators visualize what's going to be going on between the different scenes. You don't necessarily need to include every little bit of the storyboard, but largely the storyboard is about getting across the main beats of the scene that's getting animated right now. Is my shit cutting out, or is that just me? Because I think it's my headphones.
Voice acting. Now, this can sometimes happen before the storyboarding or even during, but the voice acting is a key component, and is done before any full animation is done. This allows the animators to match lip sync as well as the expressions and body language to match the voice. There's a lot more steps here to deliver a final product, like in-betweening and maybe some voice lines needing to be re-recorded in post, but that's the basic outline.
Yes, there is also post-production stuff where they add like effects and whatnot, but Leo Convoy here is correct with the process of whatnot in a very, very simplified version.
The only time this differs is in parody work like C-Lab 2021, or when stuff like anime is localized and needs an English dub, but that's a different video. Maybe. Since the voice lines are done first, this scene isn't overacted. It's under-animated. I don't know enough about the behind-the-scenes.
Okay, I can sort of see that. It is kind of a product of its time, being like early 90s animation, where they are very limited. But then also, on the other hand, there were, well, animes and stuff, like the explosions from Gundam Wing and other Gundam series from that time, best in the franchise, best in the industry. I don't care what other people say. When we switched to computer graphics instead of the traditional art, explosions look worse. That's the only time right now that I can think of that I want to return to tradition. I want that art back. I miss it. It was so good, but it takes so much effort to properly animate stuff like the the Hellsing Ultimate. That took many years to animate. It was so high quality animation that took forever to produce just 10 episodes. Animation takes so much more effort than people realize, especially 2D animation.
To know why this went to air in this state, or maybe why it didn't have a re-recording of the scene's lines. But I do know the audio works well overall, especially when the animation is reshot. How can I say that?
Ooh, we're gonna see a properly animated scene of it?
Well, because I did it. There's also the example of the redubbed Sailor Moon Deke episodes you can find on YouTube. Before I get in...
What? I kind of want to check that out soon. I don't know if I'll check it on stream, but I'll check it out in the future.
Into that, though, and show the final product I did, let's get into John Simper's comment. Read off by Hitan Misuru.
I hated
Cool. I don't have to read it. Poggers.
the people with no talent chop up little bits of other people's video and post them, totally out of context, to get hits. The whole point of this episode was Peter Parker losing his mind because of the black suit, as you well know. This scene was the culmination of an entire episode which built up to this climactic moment. So, to take this last little bit, isolated from its build-up, is criminal. Of course, it's going to look overblown and silly. This is everything I hate about the internet rolled up into one shining example. And Chris Barnes never overreacted a day in his life. He's a brilliant voice actor. I detest people who chop up other people's work on the internet, YouTube, Twitter, et al. Not everything is a joke for less talented, uncreative minds to cannibalize and derive monetary benefit from. Hey Andrew, go make something of your own for a change instead of mangling other people's work, if you're even capable. And no, I'm not going to look at or respond to anything you say. You're not worth it.
Okay, fair. Chad response, in my opinion. And I'm glad to know I was right about the episode. Well, sort of. Did I say it was overacted? I probably did. I don't care. The point was that a lot of people didn't know the full arc of the symbiote suit arc, and they just think of it as, or they just know that one clip that gone super viral. But I mean, I watched that entire show. I am still fucking mad at how it ended. And don't you tell me that it was a good ending. Fucking, why'd they gotta do Mary Jane dirty like that? And who the fuck was that Spot guy out of nowhere? I know he's in the comic, but he wasn't brought up at all in the show before the final episode. It was horseshit.
You know what? I get it. You work on a show for years and it gets killed by some other goon that pissed off an exec before you could finish, and people know it mostly because it got turned into a meme. This show took years to make, and a lot of work and care was put into it. It can't be fun to have people mocking it, especially without knowledge of why it is the way it is.
I would like to say that I don't feel like I'm properly mocking it. I think it's a glorious thing. Like, it's not great in terms of, is it groundbreaking? Is it high fidelity kind of shit? I enjoy it for it being overall not the greatest, but it still had great writing behind it overall. And I will say, what's his name? What is his name? Not Andrew. Chris Barnes. Yeah, I actually really liked Chris Barnes as Peter Parker. He did the Peter Parker and Spider-Man quite well. It was quite fitting. But the animated 90s series, the Spider-Man animated series, I don't think it was meant to be like a serious series. Cause like I really want to pull up a TikTok of a clip from the series, but I don't know if I can. Cause copyright. I'm already bound. I'm already worrying about copyright with what's already been played.
You're not worth it.
Okay,
Into a
thank you.
meme. This show took years to make, and a lot of work and care was put into it. It can't be fun to have people mocking it, especially without knowledge of why it is the way it is. But at the same time, you can't react like this, John. I think a better route would have been explaining how animation works and maybe some of the behind-the-scenes details as to why it played out like this.
I mean, his response was salty, that's for sure. But I'm going to be honest, a lot of people are just not going to pay attention to a post that big. You kind of gotta have to read it out to some people just to get them to actually read it. Like, you actually have to have somebody sound it out for them. Otherwise, they just see wall of text, moving on. So, like, it's hard. It's hard. Plus, it might have been hard to get notification out there or whatever if the writer put out a video of his own rather than leave a comment on the mega viral video that everybody was seeing and talking about. So like, on the one hand, I kind of get where the writer's coming from. I forget his name. I'm terrible with names. On the other hand, I get where Leo Convoy is coming from. So yeah.
Just food for thought. Well, I guess it's time to give you guys what you want. Now, this isn't full animation.
God, I don't care. Play it.
It's going to be closer to a storyboarding or a really basic animatic, as I want my first full animation to be something else. But here's the scene redone with different visuals.
Get back here, Shocker! Shocker!
Okay, like a zoom out from as he's screaming would have done a lot to help sell this scene. I will be fully honest there. Leo Convoy seems to know what he's talking about.
You can't escape me! I'll chase you to the ends of the earth!
Yeah, it.
Okay, that would have also been really sweet. Like seeing the anger start coming out of him and then he slowly starts shifting into Venom look as like an allusion to what's going on with what's going to happen, or foreshadowing. That's it.
Yeah, it's far from the best, but it gives you an idea of how it could have played out differently, like emphasizing the symbiote physically changing its outside appearance to be closer to what Venom was going to be. The show.
Yeah, like that would have been pretty great foreshadowing, in my opinion. Though the problem is, this is all hindsight to like a 30-year-old show. So we can't really change it now. I still think it's glorious for what it was.
The show is really great, despite some of its odd editing choices. I mentioned the show got cut short, and that's true. The final season would have had Spider-Man arriving in Victoria, England to find Mary Jane, specifically during the spree of Jack the Ripper, who would have...
Oh, that's why it was such a frustrating ending. Because it was cut short. Of course it was. And then the only thing that they continued after that with was fucking Spider-Man Unlimited, where it was basically Spider-Man and the Planet of Furries. How did Spider-Man end? Basically, this one dude with like a white bodysuit with a bunch of black spots on him could peel the black spots off and then throw them around, making portals. And then Mary Jane fell into one of those, and the series ends. So yeah, it didn't exactly end on the best note.
been revealed to be Carnage. Yeah.
That would have been interesting. Instead of Cletus Cassidy with it being Jack the Ripper as Carnage, that would have been an alternate reality which would have been a pretty cool storyline to see.
It's weird. John Simper really seems to like that time period and has some interesting animations on his YouTube.
No wonder we got Spider-Man and the Planet of the Furries after.
With furries in that time period. I guess check it out if you want. Link for that's in the description. I'm Lyle Convoy, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want, you can support me on Patreon.
Lyle Convoy. I thought it was pronounced Leo Convoy.
Or join the community Discord. Take it easy, and I'll see you next time.
Okay, pretty poggers video. Yeah, I see a lot of his points. Spot. I think I remember him from the episode where he locked himself in a portal dimension. Like, the episode where they introduced him was or basically the arc where they introduced him. I can't remember. When they introduced him was like at the literal end of the series. I don't remember anything about him from previous parts of the series, and I watched a lot of it as a kid. It is bonkers, to say the least. But yeah, I guess there are people that do definitely take it in the wrong direction. There are people that do, clip stuff out of context and then just run with their narratives. That happens, well, not just in this instance, it happens a lot with streamers and stuff. Because, well, as you get more popular, there will always be people who hate you. So those people will try to do their best to get any sort of evidence that you are a horrible person and will use that against you. I mean, I'm like just under 500 subscribers on YouTube, and I've already got people saying that I support swatters and doxers and I'm wanted for terrorism, because you can trust the word of random people on the internet that don't actually have any evidence to back up their claims. I won't drop the F-bomb. That's fine. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe for more content, and if you want to join the community, feel free to check out the Discord. I love to voice chat in there, so if you want to ever talk, I'm usually available. Well, in the afternoons.